growing corals and planting them. So they're actually having a beneficial impact on the coral reef ecosystem.
Hi, my name is Rachel Bain from Eva Hilton Primary School in New Providence, Bahamas. How does climate change affect our coral reefs?
Another really great question. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, so climate change is honestly, it's the biggest threat to coral reefs right now. We'll talk about this in much greater detail a little bit later on in the field trip, but the biggest problem is that climate change is raising the ocean seawater temperature. As that temperature increases, that partnership, that symbiosis between the coral and the algae breaks down. The algae are expelled or kicked out of the coral, causing the coral to turn white, to be bleached, which we'll talk about. And because we discussed, they get a lot of their energy from that algal symbiosis that has a really negative impact on corals. And in many cases, if the temperatures aren't brought back down, those corals will die. So climate change is a major, major driver of coral reef decline around the world.
Great questions, everyone. All right, we've talked about corals. Now let's get into why these tiny creatures are so important to animals and people. Let's start with the one special fish you already mentioned, Joe, the parrotfish. What makes them so special?
So just competition for space on coral reefs is intense. You can really think of it as this constant battle for space between corals and weedy algae. Now, once the algae puts down its roots, it's really hard for the coral to compete with that algae to reclaim that space. Fortunately for corals, they have an ally in this battle for space, the parrotfish. Parrotfishes act like a fleet of fishy lawnmowers, eating the algae and keeping the algal lawn in check so that there's still space for new baby corals to settle onto the reef and to begin to grow. One other interesting fact about parrotfishes, when they chomp on algae, they also munch off little bits of rocky reef, and then they get rid of it. Incredibly, some parrotfish species can poop out over 1,000 pounds of sands per year. Maybe that's something worth thinking about the next time you go and dig your toes into the beautiful white sand of a beach, like in the Dominican Republic.
So when I go to the beach and stick my toes in the sand, I'm really sticking them in parrotfish poop? Kind of gross, but actually contributing sand for beaches is one of many ways that reefs positively affect our lives. To find out how else coral reefs are vital to a place like the Dominican Republic, we asked some of the local residents.
Tenemos más océano que tierra, por decirlo así, y es por ello.
Including things like coastal protection, corals are very likely to die. We're also seeing an increase in coral disease outbreaks.